Welcome to the Inside Line IndyCar Podcast. I'm Zion Brown and joined by the driver of the number 26 Honda for Andretti Global, Will Power. Will, how's it going, man?
It's going well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. We've got a couple of weeks off here. Now we're about to be back in Long Beach later this week. And, that's always been a fun race, always highly attended. So I'm excited for that.
Yes, it's definitely one of the ones you want to win. It's always a great event, and um, just I was there actually a week ago, just doing some promotion, and looks like there's some nice new suites and so on. So yeah, very nice.
Well, we're now over a month into the season. You with this first year being with Andretti Global after 17 years, I believe it was, with Team Penske. Just with the late start you got, not being able to really officially join the team until the start of the year, January 1st. How much comfortable do you feel like you are at this point going into race number 5 than you were going into that first race in St. Pete?
Definitely more comfortable, just simply understanding the car, working with my engineer a lot better, and just the whole, the way the team goes about, you know, I guess racing, you could say, but the way they do debriefs and so on, you start to get used to all that stuff. Yeah, it's definitely a different car to drive, no question. It's definitely uh, behaves differently.
What differences have you noticed, I guess?
Yeah, I find it has been more difficult for me to drive on street course. Just in particular under brakes, it's just something I've got to get used to. Um, I think on the oval, because ovals are very smooth and it's just a constant, lateral load you have on throughout the corner, that felt more normal to me. So I was able to get the car in a really good window. Um, but the cars are very fast. They're very good. They're very good. You obviously have to drive it a bit differently, but the speed is there.
What was it about this Andretti Global team that made you know that this was the move for you to change teams and go with Andretti?
It's something that we talked about, like, 12 months ago, with my manager, more than 12 months ago. As we went into that 25 season, knowing it's a contract year, we said the best case scenario um, of teams to go to was Andretti, just for the people that were there, knew Craig Hampson, um, and Rob Edwards. So, yeah, but two people that, well, Rob, it was first team I drove for. He was a team manager. So it was a team with already winning races and tremendous potential to be better than what they were. So that was our number one pick of teams to go to. Obviously, staying at Penske was at that point our number one option. But as the season unfolded, that you started to see that, maybe we were struggling. It was a year that was tough for Penske. So it, I guess, made the decision a little easier. But yeah, I just saw the potential there. I mean, they were a very good team. I mean, Kirkwood won 3 races last year. It was, obvious to me. So, um, I mean, it took me a day of walking around the shop to go, oh, these guys can definitely win championships. There's no question, which, they have in the past. But, for the last more than a decade, no one but Penske Ganassi had won a championship. So I think, these are the guys that will be the team to knock one of those two teams down.
I think in the
Ultimately, both of them. You got to be champion. You're gonna have to beat both those teams. There's a lot of other teams in the game now, though. I mean, look at McLaren's obviously been knocking on the door for a while now. So yeah.
I think in the preseason you talked about being able to go to Andretti and sign a multi-year deal with them versus maybe being offered a one-year deal to come back to Team Penske. Why was that sense of security so important to you?
I just didn't want to go through another year of what I went through in 25 of uncertainty and am I here? Like, oh, nah. Yeah, I want someone that actually wants me to be there. It's just, yeah, if they don't really want you, but they're doing you a favor by signing you, for another year, it's just kind of, yeah, I didn't want that situation. It was in my mind the right time for a change as well. It just, I'd always wondered how would I fare in another team anyway? How good am I? Like, that was always a question in my mind. So it's always more complicated than just one reason. So multiple reasons. It just added up, and I could feel it in my gut. It was the right time.
I feel like it sometimes goes understated the TWG folks and them being the ownership group now of Andretti and just what they have brought to the table. What has your relationship been like with the people at TWG? What was it about kind of their structure and their organization that really drew you into the team?
Well, TWG have been working closely with the team on specific things. Obviously with AI itself, which I can't really talk too much about, but so yeah, obviously you see them on Formula E, you see them in Formula One. They are, uh, you see they're starting to have a big presence in motorsport, which it's cool to have a brand that is becoming very recognizable. So I spent 17 years with Verizon, which is a very recognizable brand, but TWGAI is, I actually look forward to meeting. The headquarters are really close to Long Beach, so they're out in California, and I actually look forward to meeting a lot of the people and having conversations about the AI development and so on and where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up just LA in that area, like I feel like it goes understated that it's like the same group right now that owns the Dodgers and the Lakers is highly invested in this IndyCar team, right?
Yes, they have a very broad reach, let's say, in sports. So it's a serious brand, and yeah, I think just that's what Dan Terrace is doing. Is growing a big sporting brand, um, creating multiple teams that win championships in all different sports.
With you having been with Team Penske for so long, once you actually got to Andretti, officially got to start there, were there any nerves about, okay, man, it's my first time at the new team in 17 years, or was it just kind of business as usual for you?
It was a bit, strange walking into another team after 17 years. And obviously there's always, you're a little bit you're not knowing, like, how is this going to be? How's the team run? Do they have the resources? Like, these are things that you just don't know until you actually go run a test with them and see everyone at work at the shop. So yeah, there's no question, like, this will be interesting in my mind, and that's what I thought. And also going to the test, I thought, my first run, I said, this is going to be really interesting. How's this car going to feel after so many years of sort of developing a car with Penske? And the first test was a short oval, which was Penske's strongest suit, strongest discipline, I would say. Penske was strong everywhere, but short ovals were definitely where we felt like we had an advantage. So yeah, once I got into, first 10 lap run, it's like, okay, this car's pretty stable. It's nice. Ovals, obviously, you got to creep up on it. And it was a pretty good day. And it was an area that they struggled in, the short ovals, Andretti. So it was good to get that information to then go back and have a really good talk and think about what we do when we come back for a 2-day open test. So it's really the perfect scenario that the open test and the tire test was on their weakest uh, tracks, were short ovals, and we were able to able to become probably I felt like we had the quickest cars at Phoenix, and I think that'll transfer over to Gateway as well, and some Milwaukee. But yeah, big step forward there. Big step forward.
You talked a lot about this team, you trying to help this team reach its potential, and you've got two drivers, two teammates who are trying to reach the heights that you've reached at points in your career. Just what has it been like for you, helping out Kyle, helping out Marcus, and trying to really, as a collective, help Andretti be the best that it can be, and like you said, chase down Ganassi and Penske for those championships.
It has been very good. Kyle is extremely fast, and I would say he's absolutely peaking at this point in his career. He's had enough time. Marcus is obviously, more of a veteran, has raced in Formula One, and they're both very good drivers. We help each other. I use a lot of their data and to improve myself and vice versa. But I think the biggest gain for both them were they have a guy coming from a team that coming from one of the top teams. Obviously have a very good feel for a car and understand what it needs, and just having what happens when so particularly with Andretti, they've had young drivers come through, so they're kind of used to what they've got and don't really know anything different, which I understand that. We've been through that at Penske. So you had me come in that obviously had different ideas on setup and so on, and we're used to a specific way a car should feel. So it points people in different directions where they may not have thought about. And that's just simply teams do things differently. And sometimes having someone come from, somewhere else gives you a bigger spectrum of setup ideas, or let's say ideas really on what direction you go with the cars. Yeah, everything's very tight these days. Everyone's very good, and the small details matter.
When you look at Kyle, 4 races through the season, he's the points leader. You kind of talked about how he kind of be peaking right now, and then we're going into Long Beach, a place where obviously he's won before. Just what are your overall thoughts on his start to the year and the consistency he's been able to maintain so far this season?
He's he definitely has got the mindset of how to win a championship. And everywhere we've been, he's been quick. He's been quick enough to challenge for a pole or a win. So he's really got it nailed down. I think he would be very tough to beat in the championship this year. And it's unfortunate for me to lose so many points in his first couple of races, but even Barber just having that to happen first thing in qualifying, really hurt our potential there, especially the full green races. But Kyle has a great chance this year, a very good chance. Palou is relentless as far as consistency, and if you have a weakness, he will show it up. So, you've definitely got to be on your game if you're going to beat him.
Obviously, the high point of your season as a whole this year has been Arlington when Kyle won, and you guys were 3 of the top 4 spots in that race. How relieving was that for you just to get your first podium with this team and just kind of be at ease to an extent that it had paid off the work you had put in since joining Andretti?
It was a relief. It was just nice to have a solid day. Finish all laps, and just be on the podium is a big deal. Barber the same, to finish all the laps was disappointing having to start last, but just finish your full race, going through the strategy, having things to talk about after the race for the next year. All those things really matter. And so that's two consistent races in a row.
Absolutely. You talked about it with Barber and just really all of the races so far with you. Like it's been a thing where, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that kind of like straight linear path hasn't been there. There's always been an issue on one of those days. What goes into trying to limit those mistakes going forward and really have a consistent, putting it together all 3 days of a weekend?
Yeah, for sure. St. Pete was just awkward for me because that was the first time, I'd been in that car on a street course. braking was significantly different to what I was used to, and we actually had some issues which caused one of the crashes at St. Pete. Um, Qualifying at Phoenix was just very unexpected for me. We had a great car. If I'd finished that run, qualifying sort of in the top five, and it didn't really matter in the end because able to drive up to the front anyway. Um, Arlington was just a very consistent weekend all around, and Barber, I mean, that was just you know mistake on the carb. We had a brake line rub. Unfortunately, that was first lap of qualifying, first run of qualifying. So you're out. You could qualifying last. Even if you qualified 15th, it would have been a big difference. Would have got well inside the top 10. But that's racing. That is, they're all things that were preventable. It's not bad luck. It's some teething problems. Uh, you know, One was really making an adjustment during qualifying. That was a tough one. Definitely didn't expect that at Phoenix, but they're all things that could have been prevented. First round, that right there is just getting used to a new car. Quite a different car. Quite a very, very, very different feeling car.
As we lead up to the 500, right, we're a few weeks away from being on track and practices and heading to qualifying and everything. What goes into it for you to being able to put all the drama and everything that happened for you during that race, during that month behind you going into this year?
I I really hope that it's a low key ish month. Low key in the way that in the fact that we don't have something extreme happen like it did last year. Um, you haven't had a clean Indy 500 for, oh man, since 19, I reckon. 18, 19, there's just been just like bloody bad finishes just every single time. So I do feel I'll have a good result this year. I do. Um, and maybe there's a little less pressure with this team. Penske, the Indy 500 was really, it is a big deal. It's a big deal. You really have to win a 500 for Roger to sort of, you know, be classed as successful within the team, but also within IndyCar. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's going to be very interesting. How does the car feel? Is it going to be quite different to a Penske car? I don't know. Penske again had probably the best cars around that place. So that will be very interesting.
Do you think that kind of decreased internal team pressure that you mentioned will maybe help you be at ease more going into that race and going into that month?
Yes, I think anyway, it's a high pressure month. It just is. It's just everyone puts everything into that race. It's such a big deal. So no matter what, you're going to feel that pressure. But maybe there's less, less within the team and so on. Yeah, hard to say. I'll know this month. We'll feel it out.
Are you going to be able to take anything from what you did in Phoenix, starting all the way at the back and holding the lead for quite some time there? Are you going to be able to take anything, even though it's a short oval from that race going into May?
Oh yeah, pretty different. There, Phoenix, you have two lanes that, it was easier to pass. Indy kind of, ever since they coated the track with that stuff, it took away a second lane. So you definitely want to start in the top 12 there. You want to be, top 10, top 12. I don't know what it is now, but, make the top, is it top 12 or top 9? I can't remember. But you want to be, yeah, you want to be on the good side of 15th. And then have good stops and so on and so on. Yeah, it's kind of become that sort of race. So hoping to have fast qualifying cars. I think Andretti will be better in that respect than last year. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I don't want to have to come from the back again. I've done that too many times at Indy recently.
When it comes to your big picture IndyCar series thoughts, what were your thoughts on just the way this season started, the unorthodox, having those 4 races in the month of March, and of course the two new ones, or one new, one added back into it with Phoenix and Arlington. Just what were your thoughts on the way the season began?
As from a series perspective, or actually like how mine
Like from your
played?
perspective as a driver on the series.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that they had, I think they needed that. They needed to have, I think it was a back to back, right? St. Pete, Phoenix, and then a
Yes.
week, or was it three in a row?
It was three. It was three.
Three
It's
in a
St.
row.
Pete, Phoenix, and
Three
Arlington.
in a row. I think that was necessary. I think that was very important to keep the ratings. There was three really good ratings. We needed that. And then, a week off and we have another race. Like, I think that's definitely what they need. It might maybe need four in a row, or two in a row, a week off, and two in a row. So that sort of thing. I mean, you got to keep the momentum early in the season, keep people interested in the series. So and the tracks were good. I mean, Arlington, an amazing event. Like all the stands full, amazing presentation, great track. I just, those events are so good for IndyCar. We're going to Long Beach again, another good event. Spa, another great event. St. Pete had a big crowd. Like just from what I've seen, the series has only ever grown since I've been in it. I've been in it 21 years or something, even before the merger, and it's only ever got better. The ratings have only ever got better. So it's good. I think, Penske Entertainment has done a great job. I think Roger's done a great job with the series and the speedway. It's a big deal getting Fox to be a third owner, have a third ownership of the series. I think they bring a lot. Um, and yeah, it's in the best shape I've ever seen it. And it really is. I'm talking about what drivers get paid, continuity of drivers, quality of teams, the money within teams, the money in the sport. All that is the best I've ever seen it. So it's in good shape.
You talked earlier this year about the depth of the drivers that are in the series these days, and how I feel like it's a lot deeper than it was when you first, were in the series in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Just what makes it different than it was maybe back then, and how much more difficult does it make it on you as a driver, knowing there are so many more capable drivers than there may have been in the past?
I would say all sport, not just motorsport, has gone that direction simply because of data and video analysis. In particular, what's available, video wise on YouTube. There's iRacing, like that's one part of it, which is driving. The other part is, we've got a one make car and the rules have got tighter and tighter, and you can't really, you're not redesigning things on the car. So, um, it is hard to get an advantage on anyone. And the quality of teams, the money in teams has gone up. So you've got more teams that are capable of winning and more drivers capable of winning and so on. I mean, it's just progressed into a much tougher sport in general in every respect, like competition wise. So yeah, it's which is happening in every sport. That's just the way it goes. The more information there is out there, and the younger they start, and the younger they start looking at data and video and understanding how to be fast. I mean, it's just all there to be learnt. Basically, you can get on a simulator in your bloody basement and learn how to be really fast.
How much do those simulators help and just kind of make things different to where you might be going to a track for the first or second time, but you have a bit of experience, even if it's not necessarily actual in person experience there?
Well, big time. If you hadn't been there, big time. Like you totally can learn a circuit. Like you go there and you know it. That's yeah, no question. Simulator's massive for that. But then you get forums like iRacing where you're actually racing other people and you're doing starts and you're learning racecraft and learning how to be calm and not overdrive and when to make a move. There's just so many things you can learn on something like iRacing. Then you get like the manufacturer simulators, like Honda and Chevy have simulators, which are much more expensive and a lot more detailed and tailored to just IndyCar. And you're going through setups you're going to run during the weekend. So, yeah, just so much more preparation is needed now to be competitive because of that, because you have those tools. And if you're not doing it, then you're going to be getting beaten.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, I want to ask you about something that I think happened last week or maybe 2 weeks ago with your dad back in Australia. Your
Oh,
dad
yeah.
Bob fighting off this carjacking attempt. To the best
Yeah.
that you can describe it, obviously not being there. What happened?
Well, basically, my dad had pulled up to a cafe in Toowoomba, with his girlfriend, and she got out to go get a table, and he's just getting ready to get out of the car, and someone comes and rips the door open with a sawn-off shotgun and starts screaming, "Get out of the car!" And he's like, "Well, I don't want to get my car stolen." So he said, "No, I'm not getting out." And they start wrestling a bit, and then eventually the guy stood back and put the shotgun to his chest. He's like, all right, I'll get out. Just let me get the dog out." And then this guy had carjacked like 4 cars before that, I believe. And I think they must have been following him with a drone. And just as he got out of the car, the SWAT squad pulled up, and then it was all mayhem, obviously, and they apprehended him. But yeah, it was only my dad would go, "Oh, well, I don't want my car stolen." Like if someone rocked up with a shotgun to me, I'd be like, "Yeah, take the car, man. Yeah, I don't need it." It was a Honda Type R. So he was protecting a good car. He won't even let me drive that thing. But that's, I got 3 brothers. We all laugh like, yeah, that's dad. He almost, he's going to fight someone with a shotgun than get his car stolen. He's had a nice car stolen before. It's a thing that happens in Australia a lot. Not carjackings, but car theft. So yeah, I'm incredible. It's just funny. I can't believe it's funny. Only funny because he didn't get hurt, but
Right.
like it just blows my mind that he actually sort of wrestled with the guy. And his partner came over and saw it happening, saw him wrestling, and she's yelled out at him. And then she saw he has a shotgun. She's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. So I was, he actually said authoritatively, "Don't you shoot me." Not like scared, like, "Don't shoot me." He was like, "Don't you shoot me." That's just how my dad would say it, which just blows my mind. Like the guy, I don't know. It's just, I wish there was footage of that. It would have been pretty, it would have been funny to watch that because nothing happened, but yeah, not good.
Is that just always how he's been, just defensive and kind of,
Absolutely.
taking care of what's his?
I just, it did not surprise me when I heard that. It's like, yeah, of course he would say, "No, I'm not getting out of the car." I mean, he's 80. What is he, 81 now? He probably like, I haven't got that long to go anyway, so screw it.
When did he call you about that? Was it that same day, or did you have to learn maybe later on?
No, my wife called me. I'd been on a flight to LA because I was doing the Long Beach thing. He landed. "Oh, did you hear about what happened to your dad?" And like my heart went like, "Oh no, he's something's happened. He's had a heart attack or he's died." He goes, "He got held up with a shotgun." I'm like, "What?" I could tell because she kind of laughed because she was all right. So okay, oh man, I was like, "What happened?" Yeah, that's how I found out. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, of course, glad to hear that he's all right.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's not something you would expect to hear about in a town like Toowoomba. I'll tell you that. Now, if we're in LA and I heard it happen to him, like, yeah, that happens, but not in Toowoomba. Rarely, never. Yeah, a lot of car theft, but not someone pulling up with a shotgun.
Right. And then, well, to think that him holding the guy up, I guess, helped the police actually track him down and apprehend him, as you said, kind of just crazy to
Yeah,
think about that.
kind of saved his car. I think the big thing was he definitely didn't want the guy stealing the car with his dog.
Right.
So he really wanted to get the dog out of the back as well. Yeah. Because that would suck, man. Someone taking off in your car and you've got your dog in the back. Like, you wouldn't know what's going to happen to the poor thing. Yeah. I'd be stealing another car to chase him, taking him out.
What
I'd steal whatever car he'd stolen and got out of to get another car and just chased him.
do you know what type of dog are we talking here?
It's she's like a bit of a cattle dog. Babs is her name. Yeah, she's a nice doggy. Yeah. Yeah, Dad, he didn't find her. She was just probably a bit neglected somewhere. And the guy said, "Oh, you can have her." And Dad was like, "Yeah, I'll take the dog." Because Dad, we've always had dogs, so don't like to see him just tied up outside, right? Like the dog sleeps on the bed.
Well, once again, glad he's all right, and glad that you could join me today, Will. Thank you.
No, very good stuff. Thank you.
Once again, this has been another episode of the Inside Line IndyCar Podcast. You can find all the videos of this podcast and other videos at IndyStar TV IndyCar on YouTube. And of course, all of our motorsports IndyCar coverage at indystar.com/sports/motor-sports. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Inside Line.